Episode 18. Crisis? What crisis?
But then then we got these silk trousers. I mean, it was crackers.
Wasn't they like $1,000 a hit or something at the time? There was some incredible number, wasn't there? I remember when everyone turned up and said, "Look at that bunch of pricks."
Welcome to the Two Mechanics podcast. Kenny Handkammer and Mark Grain have 18 Formula One World Championships between them, have been in the Guinness Book of World Records twice. They have over 30 years of motorsport stories between them, not to mention the 40,000 beers. Cheers. What you say?
Mark, what we saying?
Well, Ken, what do you want to say? There's no Bahrain Grand Prix. We've got a bit of a gap. I can't remember if this is the weekend where it's meant to be scheduled, but isn't.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, well, just because there's no Grand Prix, there's plenty of stuff still happening in motor racing the world over, and Formula One. We have a lot of busy people right now. I can tell you after Japan. Blimey.
Yeah, it's a massive scramble for sure. Talk of big meetings with the FIA and teams to go over tweaking regulations. I don't know if you've got the capacity within the cars to be able to even them up or not. It's a bit of a deep dive.
It's for my I don't know. Obviously, with these cars, I'm going to call it a rudimentary knowledge, right? I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the code and software and everything that runs these cars, but you've got those two elements. You've got a combustion engine and you've got a battery, and there's the motor generator unit that harvests that energy and charges up the battery back, right? So just taking that as very basic principle, then for me there must be a way of via software which is not hardware changes and therefore, shall we say, relatively cheap. There must be some way of minimizing this. They call it this super clipping, and it leads to these differentiators in speed, and of course, therefore, the shunt in Japan that everybody's talking about. All the drivers are up in arms saying, "Well, we told you so." A lot of the team principals are all saying, "We told you so."
We said we told you so too.
It's very true. So I think also if I'm going to defend the FIA and Liberty, let's not forget, because
you thinking about being able to still get passes to go to races, or are you just doing this?
You've got it. We had to get out there and try it, didn't you? Formula One had to get out there and give these regs a thorough, stress test, right? So you've done 3 Grand Prix, you've had a shunt, there you go. We really got to do something, and that something needs to be done by Miami. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's not the only shunt, right, as well, because you've had Max locking up through software issues, and just, if you didn't have these regulations, we wouldn't be struggling with these issues, would you? Because clearly Behrman's flat out, and the other car's harvesting, and they're in the same place on the same circuit. Well, maybe there's places that you should be harvesting only, a bit like DRS zones, and going flat out only, and that should be set the same as everybody. I don't know, but then everybody would know when they come on to whatever corner it was or whatever straight it was where they're roughly at. Not consistent.
There is this safety issue, right? I've got it, but for me, it's this whole you're lifting and cruising through a challenging corner and still being faster at the end of the lap because you've got all that power in a straight, because you've harvested all that energy and then you've deployed it in a straight line. Well,
it's a drag racer now.
Yeah, exactly. Give or take, you and I can do that.
Yeah.
So that's the bit. It's got to change.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people saying that's the loss of the skill set, right? Because they're cruising through corners, which is where a good driver should be making the advantages, instead of just planting it down the straight and using it as a drag strip.
Junk.
Yeah. So.
And that's why that leads us straight on to why Max is thinking of jacking it in at the end of the year. It's not for everybody watching this, for everybody listening to this. I'm sick of hearing, oh, Max is throwing his toys out the pram, now he hasn't got a fast car, he wants to jack it, and no. You can't, you're all wrong. Every one of you's got that opinion, you're wrong. The reason Max is thinking about leaving Formula 1, he doesn't like these regulations. If Max had a car that still challenged him, and it was the fourth fastest car, and he had to really push to race the McLarens, Ferraris, and the Mercedes Benz, he'd be pushing. He really would. Kenny, you know him better than me, right? You've known him for years since he was a kid. You know how good he is. I certainly know how talented he is. You know his dad. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I don't think so. I think Max has always been very vocal regardless of anything, right? He's very honest, brutally honest that people, don't like getting out their comfort zone, to be honest, and telling people the way it is. He's actually concerned about not himself as much as everybody thinks he is. He's actually concerned for the sport. He's actually concerned for Formula One, with him in it or without him in it. It's, Formula One is turning into a not a very nice, sport to be involved in when it comes to, competing. So I don't care that, what people are surmising and tend to stop moaning and leave, or all these other things. He's actually out having fun in GTs, and he's been testing. He's going to do the 24-hour, and so, but he is doing other things, but he is basically, concerned about the direction that F1's going in, not just 2026, for the future.
Everybody, again, listening, watching, whatever, be under no illusion. Formula One will be worse off without Max. Right now, I know people will say, "Well, drivers have come and gone." Of course they have. We haven't got Fangio still driving a car, have we? We know drivers come and go, but when you've got probably right now the fastest driver in the world talking about leaving Formula One because the cars are junk, then that tells you everything you need to know. Formula One's got a big problem there that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed fast.
Yeah, and there's other people not as vocal. Lando's been mumbling about it. Obviously, George hasn't because he's doing very well, and they've got the advantage. Fernando is. Other sciences. There's loads of other drivers. They're just not as high profile, and they're not as vocal as he is. He's and he's got every right to be. He's in a sport that he loves, that he's aspired to win in, and he's done extremely well. So it's only like a tea lady complaining that she hasn't got enough cups to serve everybody, right? It doesn't matter what job you're doing. If you're not enjoying it and you've got issues at work, you need to vote it. I don't care if you're, a milkman or a racing driver or whatever.
It's a long slog. He'll be there for this year, but it depends on how this year evolves. It's a long slog to be doing that. Ken, getting on and off planes, even as a race car driver with their private jets and all the rest of it, all that time away from home, all of that stuff. It's a long slog, Formula One, if you're not enjoying it.
We complained about it when there was less races, right?
Yeah.
we are quite miserable. So, the calendar's hectic. Obviously, it's 2 less now. It might end up being 4. Who knows what's going to happen, right? You would be thinking about a backup plan for the last 2, but that's another thing. So,
that's it. Other than that, it's been a fairly quiet. Well, say quiet. There's a lot of noise, but there's been no on-track action in the last week. So I think that's where we're at. It's going to be interesting to track that. The pressure and the onus is on Formula One. So that's Stefano and the FIA, the technical team at the FIA, to have a good hard think and come up with some changes. And if I was them, I really would be. I'd be speaking to the teams, canvassing the team's opinion. What do they think, and pull all those ideas together.
But it sounds like there's meetings going to be happening, right? That probably, as we speak, and probably have already happened, and that you don't solve those problems in one meeting, okay? And then you've got teams that need to agree, which is the hardest thing, because nobody wants to give up an advantage. So it's going to be very political. It's going to be messy. It's going to be. You might not all solve it all for Miami. You might be able to tweak it a little bit, but we know those meetings are happening between teams and FIA and Formula One. So let's see if we see any improvements for Miami. I just think it's a big ask with what they've got to be able to tweak it.
I think it's doable, but that I might just be naive with that or over optimistic. But again, like we said way back when we were discussing winter testing, the teams have got way more sophisticated tools available to them than the FIA. So,
Yeah.
so
And the resource, yeah.
So hopefully they all get together and sort this out. And there will be people who are angling to keep their advantages. I would be if I was at Mercedes-Benz. I wouldn't be suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk. This is the reason that Mercedes did Formula E for 2 years to get this help get this technology. If that's true or not, it's a very elaborate, long-term plan that would be. But let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story.
I'll tell you what, Ken. If it was, and if that was the plan and that was all part of it, hats off, because it's a smart move because it's paid off. So I don't know exactly, because you can just employ people from Formula E, can't you? You know, so I think it's a it's a bit of a myth and all the rest of it. But anyway, fair play to Toto and his team, because they're spanking it at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just a bit strange that the other Mercedes teams are struggling as well. You would have thought they'd be sharing, and I think they have to, a certain amount of all the software and have to run the engines. So, but I noticed it was quite evident that McLaren were doing some different harvesting stuff, completely different to Mercedes in Japan. So, yeah, I think it's a long way to go. But look, at the end of the day, we all want to see the sport improve, because I think what we've got now is a bit rubbish, to be honest.
And on that note, so we've discussed current. I've got a question for you. Which driver, Formula One driver, would you have loved to have worked with? But it was before your time, our time, whenever. It could be whenever. Who was the one you would have loved to have worked with?
That's a tricky one. I've probably got. Can I do a top three? Not in any order.
You can do a top three, but the number one, I need you to tell me why.
Sterling Moss would be one of them. Not the number one. He was actually friend of mine anyway, and helped me in my career with my resume. And anyway, I won't bore you with that stuff. Good family friend. I think that Nicky Lauda would have been on the list, but I think I'd have to top it off with James Hunt. Probably because we have similarities. We did have. Obviously, I'm a lot older now. I'm cautious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hats off to you. I mean, I know Nicky was a good friend of yours, so I can see what.
Yeah.
And Sterling as well.
Yeah, lovely bloke. And they're all great people. I remember meeting James Hunt, and when we were down in harbour at Monaco, where we only the top 3 or 4 teams could be back at the harbour instead of up in Alcatraz in the car park. Yeah. We were down there, and we could see him. We looked through the awning, and you could see him on the boat drinking all weekend. And then I think it was Monday morning, he was in the airport, pair of jeans, white t-shirt, double-breasted blazer, and no shoes and socks, getting on a plane.
When I was starting out in Formula 3, British Formula 3, James was always in the paddock. I can't remember if I've ever told you this story, Kenny, but I'll give you the quick version of it. Mika Hakkinen, before he drove for Dick Bennett's in West Surrey Racing, the year before he was driving in Formula 3 for Huey Absalom, who used to be at McLaren years and years ago, and then started his own team. And a mate of mine, Martin Ellis, worked on Mika's car, and they were Marlboro backed. And this was 1989, and we were at Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, the short loop.
Yeah.
And they won the race, and that was in a Reynard, which was, for everybody listening, that was not a great car. But Mika was awesome, and the Reynard was kind of fast around this little Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. Won the race. And pre-mobile phone days, certainly for the likes of me and my mate Martin. So. But they always had a Philip Morris motorhome in the paddock wherever they went for British Formula 3 because there were so many drivers backed by Marlboro. And so Martin went into the motorhome after the race and asked the guy who looked after the motorhome, "Can I borrow the phone? He always set up a landline. I just want to phone my mum and dad to say, tell them that we've won the race." And he said, "Yeah, sure, of course you can." So Martin goes in, he's on the phone. "Hello, mum, hello, dad, yeah, we won, it's fantastic." And James walks in, right? No, bare feet again, always bare feet. Wandered in, and he turned around and he said, What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I held the phone to his chest. Oh, I'm sorry. I did ask. I'm just on the phone to my mum and dad, just to tell them about today." And he said, "Give me that phone." James takes the phone off him. "Hello, is that Mr. and Mrs. Ellis?" And he said, "Yes." "James Hunt here. Let me tell you, your boy did a fucking hell of a job today."
He might have had an afternoon beer watching that race, actually.
Great choice.
And you? What's yours?
I
can give you a top 3 too.
Okay, all right, top 3. Wow, that has caught me a bit on the hop.
Well, we don't script any of this stuff, so it should do.
Wow, top 3. I think I'd have loved to have worked, having worked for his team for nearly 30 years. I think the opportunity to have worked with Bruce McLaren, that would have been pretty cool.
Fantastic.
And knowing and having worked with, my time at McLaren, I worked with people who worked with Bruce.
Right? Yeah, unbelievable.
That's
absolute legend. Yeah,
a link, to the man who started the racing team. So that for sure. Wow, Christ, I can't think. They really have caught me on the top. Who else would there be?
A long list, isn't it?
Francois. I think when I look at, I'm not giving you a straight answer here, but maybe Francois Sever or Jackie Stewart at that time at Tyrrell, and again I knew some of those old boys.
Jackie would have been great, wouldn't he? Yeah. Jackie would have been great.
And I look at that iconic 70s and Jackie with these big pups
and sunglasses,
all of that.
Big glasses.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. And it just a super fast drive and super smooth. But for me, Jackie's dear friend, the driver I grew up reading about since I was a little kid was Jimmy Clark, and the chance to have worked with absolutely one of the best that's ever lived, that would have been fantastic. I think Colin Chapman was a real ball breaker, and I think it would have been lots of late nights working for him. But again, so many of the legends of the sport. Beaky Sims and the Vicar, Bob Dance, and those guys, Sexy Rexy, Hart, all of that team of mechanics who worked with Jimmy and through Colin through all the 60s and the 70s. Then, that would have been pretty cool, I think.
I've heard a story from Howden Ganley, who's a friend of ours. I worked with an ex-Formula 1 driver. He obviously knew raced in that era back then. And he said when Jim Clark got out the car, he was like nervous as hell. He was always picking his nails and he was like shaking, like, he was all over the place. He had this nervous energy. He said when he got in the car, he was the most calmest, smoothest driver you've ever seen in your life. And it was just absolute natural,
Beautiful to watch, and a beautiful car control when you see some of that black and white footage of Brands in those 3-litre Formula 1 cars, and he's going through paddock turn 1. And it's just fingertips. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Airborne in places like Nürburgring and places like that. Yeah. All 4 wheels off the deck. Yeah, good choices. So, leading in to old things, what's the most uncomfortable, worst team kit you've ever had? It's ridiculous because we've all gone through a lot of sketchy stuff.
The eagle-eyed amongst our viewers might have noticed that we're not in our usual 2 mechanics team kit today. I'm in an old West shirt, and I can see even one of your old Red Bull ones. This was pretty decent stuff. I mean,
it's a classic, that is, yeah.
some of the weirdest stuff. Ron got all of these weird silk things. So some of
I remember those.
There was these silk boiler suits where the legs used to unzip and the arms used to unzip, right? And there was those things, or you had
Romper suits,
silk
silk romper suits.
silk romper suits, what they were called, and then but then you also then we got these silk trousers. I mean, it was crackers.
Wasn't they like $1,000 a hip or something at the time? There was some incredible number, wasn't there? I remember when everyone turned up and said, "Look at that bunch of pricks."
I mean, it looked awful. I honestly don't know what Ron was thinking. So yeah, and that wasn't great.
Was it comfortable or not? I mean, it looked bizarre.
It was horrible. Well, what do? You unzip your legs and then you've got to stash them somewhere. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, and I probably stained quite badly too. I imagine white because they were white, weren't they?
No, they were black. But it was, what can you do? We weren't working in a garage still. I mean, it's the poshest garage in the world, right? We all know that, Formula One garages. and then we all got these silk puffer jackets as well. And because in some countries you could have West, and in some countries you weren't allowed to, then we ended up with about 20 of those each. Think about the money. Think about the cost. It's crazy. Anyway. And so many. I mean, I know this is a subject dear to your heart, but so many times I've had such uncomfortable shoes.
Unbelievable. I mean, back then, in fairness, we spent 20 hours plus, day in, day out. I think my last Friday, because we had curfews on the Saturdays before I left, was a 22-hour day, right? And you've got all the days leading up to it where you might even push in a quick all night on there. But yeah, for me, we had, for some reason, we had to copy Ferrari when John Barnard turned up, and we had these expensive Timberland boat shoes, but flat as hell, right? Yeah. So it's like having a couple of ironing boards on walking around on those. Dead flat, no arch support. I actually did suffer from a collapsed arch at one stage, which sounds a bit, it's collapsed arch. Is that one of the most painful things I've ever had? It feels like the top of your foot is actually broken from wearing these flat shoes, literally 24 hours a day. And the other worst one we had was do you remember back in the 80s when Kickers made these like Ronald McDonald shoes, right? Big Coco Clown shoes, like a little bootette, terrible things. And they were the hardest. You could never break them in. They were and they were heavy, and they were just painful as hell. So we had one incident where, and the only reason we had them was because Flav bought into Kickers, and then he sold it to Prost, I think. So two incidents there. We set fire to those on the roof of one of the box areas in Argentina. We had, and they all just curled up and went everywhere. And then the last race of the year in Adelaide, the Grand Hotel in Glen Elg. You're very familiar with that one, I think. We go into reception, this great big pillar, and everybody just kicked off their shoes and just left them in reception. And there was this mountain of shoes, of Timberlands, and they were a lot of money back then. But we just had enough of them, and you were getting new ones anyway. So
I do remember. I mean, I think, was it 88? Your first year of Formula One?
89.
I seem to remember the Benetton team in 89 having these
romper suit.
Yeah, like clowns.
We had the green ones,
red and blue and yellow and all of that.
And other ones had red ones, and bolters like me, we had the patchwork ones. Yeah.
And I remember seeing pictures of Mick Ainsley Cowlishaw, we've talked about previous podcast, who's one of the best bolters I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Great big tall Mick, hey, old Baldo, and he's got these blooming multicoloured overalls on. Oh, bloody Nora.
Yeah, it was Benetton, right? We're making a clothing company, so they wanted to dress up. Apparently, I think my brother's got a set of those somewhere in his garage that belong to me. So I might get those back for, a bit of a laugh. See if I still fit them.
I'll tell you what I did dig out. I've got one of my old race suits. In the days where you've got to wear fireproofs. Yeah. I'm pleased to say it's still fitted because as a bit of a warm up.
Little bit tight, little bit A little bit tight?
Yeah, I mean, maybe
It shrunk. You shrunk.
last time it got laundered, and maybe it got laundered, and then I just
The shrinkage there, yeah. I'd see that.
bit of shrinkage there. If I was still at McLaren, I'd be having a word with Bobby, who used to look after all the team kit there. I'd be having a Bob, why have you shrunk me suit? So yeah, it was a little bit tight, but it did still go on. But I'll tell you what I did notice. I had it on. Here we are, Easter weekend in the UK. It's hardly tropical. I had it on for about 5 minutes, and I was, I've got to take this off. I was so hot.
How did we cope in places like Malaysia, right? It was 100 degrees and 100 degrees humidity.
It's one of the old. It's triple layer one for when we're fueling.
Go into the grid, right?
I don't know. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how. I had it on for about 5-10 minutes walking around the house, and I thought I've got to take this off. I'm not wearing it. Forget it. I don't care what came.
Okay. Well, that leads us into.
Who have you got? Who's around? Should it be this week?
Okay, gents, tools down. Closing time. Whose round is it?
Well, we've got no race, have we? So, and there's a reason. There's a reason for that. So I think we've got no race simply because I think there was a certain person in America decided to take some action in the Middle East, which led us not to having Bahrain, etc., Jeddah, etc. So I'd say it was Uncle Donald's turn to get all the beers in for all the race fans and all the people that were going to travel there, paid for their flights, and I think he owes all the race fans some big, beautiful beers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he probably owes more than the race fans, but yeah, I'll go with that. And for me this week, I think I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, Ken. I've got to be honest. Yours is on a very grand global scale. For me, it's FIA and FOM, and I think they owe the sports fans, but I tell you who they really owe. They'll owe all of those control software engineers and everybody. They're going to owe them a beer because of the work that's going to be needed before Miami. So go and buy them. Go and buy them a beer, feel good about themselves, and then come up with some fixes before Miami.
Yeah, and all of the accidents that happened, all the Balties that had to fix those cars afterwards. So yeah,
the Hasbowers.
Okay, well.
Okay, mate. All right. Well, good to chat again. A little reminder that it is Easter weekend here, so I'm not working tomorrow, and it is. What are we now? We're 5:20. So.
Thirsty work, isn't it? This podcasting.
This podcasting business. It's time for me to go and support local businesses. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks to everybody that tunes in, listens to us. We've had some overwhelming views on Instagram. I think over 80,000 in 30 days. So thank everybody for that. Please subscribe to YouTube and support, and we're going to make things a lot more fun going forward. So happy Easter, everybody. We don't celebrate it too much in the US, so we didn't get Friday or Monday off. But I'll be definitely blowing a froth up a couple this afternoon for you.
Thanks again. I'm just back at Kensworth. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and watching. It's really appreciated. Please do send us that feedback. Send us those questions as well. A reminder that you can find us on all of the platforms where you normally get your podcasts. And
please subscribe.
Take care, everybody. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.